US President Donald Trump will hold talks with Russian President Vladimir Putin tonight.
Vladimir Putin's life has long been a subject of fascination and intense scrutiny, a labyrinthine tale woven with power, mystery, and the allure of immense wealth. Few figures in modern history have been as enigmatic as the Russian leader, whose personal fortune has been the subject of persistent speculation and investigative inquiry. The narrative surrounding Putin's wealth is one that intertwines the official record with unverified rumors and alleged secret holdings, creating an intricate tapestry that leaves many questions unanswered, even as it invites closer inspection. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The story of Putin's rise begins in modest circumstances, with his early years marked by discipline and the rigid structure of Soviet life. Born in Leningrad during the tumultuous post-war period, he was shaped by an environment steeped in hardship and resilience. His journey from the streets of Leningrad to the corridors of power in Moscow is emblematic of a dramatic transformation. As he navigated the murky world of state security, first in the KGB and later in the political arena, Putin cultivated a persona that combined steely determination with a shrewd sense of strategy. It is against this backdrop that the public begins to wonder how a man with such modest origins could come to be associated with the trappings of extraordinary wealth. The inner workings of Putin's financial empire are, by their very nature, shrouded in secrecy and legal ambiguity. Official records provide little insight into the full extent of his assets, and there exists a wide spectrum of theories regarding the channels through which wealth may have been accumulated. Some observers contend that the vast fortunes attributed to him and his close allies are a product of a complex network of oligarchs, whose fortunes have been consolidated and protected under a veil of state control. These narratives suggest that Putin's personal wealth is not just a matter of personal luxury, but is intricately linked to the broader economic interests of a powerful ruling class. Such a perspective posits that the alleged riches serve as both a personal reward and a strategic reserve, ensuring that loyalty and control are maintained among the inner circle of the Russian elite. Central to the intrigue is the notion that Putin's wealth is largely hidden, buried behind layers of shell companies, offshore accounts, and discrete property investments scattered across the globe. Reports have speculated that behind the austere image of a leader who often appears to eschew extravagant displays of wealth lies a carefully curated collection of assets that may well dwarf the visible symbols of power. Lavish palaces on the Black Sea, sprawling estates in the Russian countryside, and properties in exclusive European enclaves are frequently mentioned in whispers and investigative reports alike. The very idea that a leader of a nation as vast and complex as Russia could amass such riches in secret adds an almost mythic dimension to his persona, one that continues to captivate the imagination of both critics and supporters. The alleged methods of accumulating this wealth are as diverse as they are controversial. Critics argue that state resources have been funneled into private coffers through a series of opaque financial transactions and legal loopholes. In this view, the consolidation of wealth has been achieved by creating a symbiotic relationship between the state and a select group of business interests, wherein lucrative government contracts, privatizations, and control over natural resources have played a significant role. The energy sector in particular has been a focal point for such claims. With Russia being one of the world's leading producers of oil and natural gas, it is not surprising that control over these resources is seen as a key lever of economic power. Many have argued that the profits derived from these industries have been systematically reinvested, often through intricate financial mechanisms, to bolster the private fortunes of those in power. Whether through direct participation or through the intermediaries of loyal business partners, the accumulation of wealth in this context becomes a matter of statecraft, where financial clout is wielded as both a carrot and a stick. While there is no shortage of speculation regarding the exact numbers involved, the mystery is compounded by the fact that much of what is known comes from sources outside the official channels. Investigative journalists, whistleblowers, and political dissidents have contributed to a narrative that paints a picture of a dual system, one that is open to public view, where Putin presents himself as a frugal and disciplined public servant, and another that operates in the shadows, where wealth and power are intertwined in ways that defy conventional accountability. This duality is perhaps best exemplified by the stark contrast between the austere public appearances and the opulent lifestyles attributed to his close associates. The narrative becomes even more compelling when one considers that the perception of wealth is not solely about the accumulation of assets, but also about the power to influence decisions, shape policies, and maintain a grip on a nation's destiny. In the corridors of power, the accumulation of wealth is often as much about perception as it is about actual financial assets. For Putin, the mystique surrounding his fortune has become an integral part of his political brand. The enigma of his personal riches is leveraged not only to consolidate support among his inner circle, but also to serve as a deterrent to potential rivals. By cultivating an aura of untouchable prosperity, the leader sends a clear signal. That descent is not just politically dangerous, but also economically futile. This subtle interplay of power and wealth creates an environment in which loyalty is bought and maintained through the promise of financial reward, while opposition is stifled by the threat of economic ruin. Such dynamics have profound implications for both domestic policy and international relations, as the interplay of wealth and power influences how decisions are made and who ultimately benefits from those decisions. The role of state institutions in safeguarding or obscuring Putin's wealth adds another layer of complexity to the narrative. The mechanisms of financial oversight in Russia, characterized by a blend of bureaucratic opacity and political patronage, have long been criticized for their inability to provide a clear picture of the nation's economic undercurrents. In such an environment, the delineation between public funds and private fortunes becomes blurred, and the lines of accountability are difficult to trace. This situation is exacerbated by the fact that legal frameworks are often applied selectively, with those at the apex of power enjoying privileges that are unavailable to the general public. The result is a system in which financial transparency is sacrificed at the altar of political expediency, leaving the true scale of wealth accumulation open to interpretation and debate. The international dimension of Putin's wealth cannot be ignored, as it speaks to a broader trend in the modern world where political leaders maintain global networks of influence and financial assets. The alleged holdings in foreign bank accounts and real estate not only serve as a safeguard against domestic instability, but also as a means of exerting soft power on the international stage. Such assets, often hidden behind layers of legal complexity, provide a form of insurance that extends beyond national borders. They are a silent assertion of economic might, a reminder that the leader of one of the world's most formidable nations is not confined by the limitations of any single legal jurisdiction. This international reach, real or perceived, adds to the aura of invincibility that surrounds Putin's persona and reinforces the idea that his wealth is not merely a personal indulgence but a strategic asset of national significance. Within Russia, the narrative of wealth and power is further complicated by the broader socio-economic context. The country's vast natural resources and sprawling industrial base have long been seen as both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, these resources provide the raw material for economic growth and geopolitical leverage. On the other, they have often been a source of corruption, inefficiency, and inequality. The management of these resources, therefore, becomes a litmus test for the effectiveness of governance and the ethical standards of those in power. In Putin's case, critics argue that the pursuit of personal wealth has often come at the expense of broader public welfare. The diversion of state resources into private channels, they claim, has contributed to a system in which the benefits of economic progress are unevenly distributed, leaving many ordinary citizens grappling with stagnation and poverty, while a select few reap the rewards of immense fortune. Yet, for many of Putin's supporters, the mystery surrounding his wealth is a testament to his ability to navigate a treacherous political landscape with unmatched acumen. They see in him a leader who has managed to secure Russia's national interests in a world where economic power is increasingly the currency of influence. In this view, the accumulation of wealth is not an end in itself, but a necessary tool for safeguarding the nation's sovereignty and ensuring that Russia remains a force to be reckoned with on the global stage. The emphasis, therefore, is not on the ostentation of riches, but on the strategic deployment of financial assets to fortify the state against internal and external challenges. This perspective offers a counterpoint to the more cynical interpretations of his fortune, framing it instead as a pragmatic response to the demands of modern governance in a world rife with uncertainty and competition. The personal life of Vladimir Putin, with its blend of guarded public appearances and occasional glimpses into his private world, further fuels the intrigue surrounding his wealth. Images of a man who is both rugged and reserved, who spends his leisure time engaging in outdoor pursuits and maintaining a disciplined lifestyle, stand in stark contrast to the opulent imagery associated with his rumored fortune. This duality is not merely a matter of public relations. It is a calculated strategy designed to resonate with a diverse audience. For those who view him as a symbol of national pride and resilience, the understated personal style reinforces the image of a leader who is dedicated to the collective good, even if the true extent of his wealth remains hidden behind a veil of secrecy. Conversely, for those who are critical of the concentration of power, the disparity between the public persona and the alleged private fortunes underscores the risks inherent in a system where accountability is sacrificed for expediency. The debate over Putin's wealth is further intensified by the broader geopolitical context in which Russia operates. As global power dynamics shift and the role of traditional superpowers is redefined, questions about the distribution of wealth and the legitimacy of those in power take on new urgency. In this environment, the narrative of an immensely wealthy leader becomes a focal point for discussions about corruption, state control, and the future of governance in the modern world. The specter of unchecked wealth, hidden behind layers of bureaucracy and protected by a network of loyal allies, raises uncomfortable questions about the nature of power and the mechanisms by which it is maintained. It invites comparisons with other historical figures whose fortunes were built on similarly opaque foundations, prompting a broader reflection on the relationship between wealth and political authority in an era defined by rapid change and uncertainty. In contemplating the legacy of Vladimir Putin's wealth, it is impossible to ignore the symbolic resonance of his story. It is a narrative that encapsulates the tensions between tradition and modernity, between state power and individual ambition, and between the visible and the hidden. The allure of secret fortunes and the mystique of a leader who seemingly controls vast resources from behind the scenes is a powerful reminder of the enduring appeal of mystery in the realm of politics. Whether viewed as a necessary instrument of statecraft or as a dangerous concentration of unchecked power, the enigma of Putin's wealth continues to captivate and provoke debate. It challenges conventional wisdom about the nature of political leadership and invites a deeper inquiry into the ways in which wealth is wielded as a tool for shaping the destiny of nations. The enduring mystery of his wealth also plays a critical role in the international perception of Russia. While many Western analysts and political commentators have sought to expose and criticize what they view as an unchecked accumulation of riches at the expense of democratic transparency, there remains a significant contingent of observers who argue that such wealth, real or imagined, is a necessary byproduct of maintaining national security and sovereignty in a volatile global landscape. The dual narratives of corruption and necessity are not easily reconciled, leaving the international community divided over the true nature of Putin's financial empire. This division is reflected in the broader geopolitical discourse, where accusations of kleptocracy are balanced against arguments that portray Russia's financial strategies as a rational response to the unique challenges posed by its historical and contemporary context. As the years have passed, the legend of Putin's wealth has grown in tandem with his political power. The evolution of this narrative is intertwined with the broader transformations within Russian society, where the interplay of tradition, modernity, and the legacy of Soviet-era institutions has given rise to a complex and often contradictory reality. The image of a leader who commands vast resources from the shadows is as much a product of his own political acumen as it is a reflection of the systems and structures that have come to define Russia's post-Soviet era. In this light, the discourse surrounding his fortune becomes a microcosm of the larger struggles that continue to shape the nation's identity and its place in the world. For those who have long scrutinized the Russian political establishment, the fascination with Putin's alleged wealth is not merely a matter of curiosity, but a window into the mechanisms of power itself. It is an invitation to explore how the accumulation and concealment of wealth can serve as a potent tool for maintaining control in a system where loyalty is bought and dissent is marginalized. The very notion that a single individual could command such vast resources, whether through legal means or through a labyrinthine network of financial arrangements, challenges conventional understandings of governance and accountability. It forces a reconsideration of how modern states function, and how the concentration of wealth can both bolster and undermine the legitimacy of political authority. In the final analysis, the narrative of Vladimir Putin's wealth is an ever-evolving story, one that continues to be rewritten as new information emerges and as the political landscape shifts. It is a story marked by contrasts. A leader who projects an image of austere discipline while allegedly commanding a fortune hidden behind layers of secrecy. A national icon who is celebrated by some and decried by others, and a figure whose personal fortunes are as enigmatic as the political strategies that have brought him to power. This enduring ambiguity is a testament to the complexity of modern leadership, where the interplay of personal ambition, state interests, and the relentless pursuit of power creates a legacy that is as much about myth as it is about reality. The allure of such a narrative lies in its capacity to capture the imagination and to provoke questions about the nature of wealth, power, and legitimacy in the modern world. It forces a reckoning with uncomfortable truths about the concentration of economic resources in the hands of a few and the implications this has for the broader social contract. In the case of Vladimir Putin, the mystery of his fortune is not simply an academic curiosity. It is a central element in the ongoing debate about the future of governance in a world where the lines between public service and personal enrichment are increasingly blurred. The story of his wealth, whether interpreted as a strategic asset or as the symbol of an entrenched oligarchy, continues to serve as a potent reminder of the challenges inherent in balancing the demands of statecraft with the imperatives of transparency and accountability. In reflecting on the vast and often contradictory elements of Putin's financial narrative, one cannot help but be struck by the enduring power of myth in shaping public perception. The image of a leader who has mastered the art of secrecy, whose personal fortune is as elusive as it is legendary, serves as a powerful symbol of both the potential and the perils of concentrated power. It is a reminder that in the arena of global politics, the battle for legitimacy is often fought not only with policies and rhetoric, but also with the careful cultivation of an image that resonates on both an emotional and a symbolic level. The saga of Vladimir Putin's wealth, with its blend of fact and conjecture, embodies this struggle, a narrative that is as compelling as it is controversial, and one that continues to provoke debate among those who seek to understand the complex dynamics of modern power. The enduring fascination with the riches attributed to Vladimir Putin is, at its core, a reflection of a broader human preoccupation with the relationship between wealth and power. It is a story that transcends the particulars of any one nation or political system, tapping into universal themes of ambition, control, and the desire for security in an unpredictable world. As the saga unfolds, it invites not only scrutiny of the mechanisms by which power is accumulated and maintained, but also a deeper contemplation of the moral and ethical dimensions of such pursuits. Whether viewed as a case study in the corruption of power or as a pragmatic strategy for national survival, the narrative of Putin's fortune remains one of the most intriguing and polarizing elements of contemporary political discourse. While definitive answers about the true extent of Vladimir Putin's wealth may forever remain elusive, the very act of probing into this mystery reveals much about the nature of modern leadership. It highlights the ways in which public figures navigate the complex interplay between personal ambition and the demands of state governance, and it underscores the challenges that arise when the accumulation of wealth becomes entwined with the exercise of political power. The ongoing debate over Putin's riches is emblematic of a larger struggle, a struggle to reconcile the ideals of transparency and accountability with the realities of power in a world where the lines between public duty and private gain are increasingly blurred. The intricate layers of speculation and documented evidence converge to form a portrait that is as enigmatic as it is provocative. For some, The narrative of immense hidden wealth serves as a potent indictment of a system where power is wielded in the shadows, a system that thrives on secrecy and the manipulation of financial structures for personal gain. For others, it represents the harsh realities of a geopolitical landscape in which survival and influence are inseparable from the control of economic resources. Regardless of the perspective taken, the saga of Vladimir Putin's wealth remains a striking example of how modern political power is as much about managing perceptions as it is about governing nations. In every account, whether from the annals of investigative journalism or the whispered conversations in corridors of power, the story of Putin's fortune looms large as a symbol of both extraordinary success and the inherent dangers of unchecked authority. It is a narrative that continues to evolve, fueled by the interplay of fact, rumor, and the inexorable march of history. A narrative that, for better or worse, encapsulates the paradoxes at the heart of modern Russian politics and offers a window into the mysterious interplay between personal ambition and the broader forces of statecraft. The examination of this enigmatic financial legacy forces an uncomfortable reckoning with the broader implications of wealth accumulation in political life. It brings to the forefront questions about the accountability of those who wield power and the responsibility they bear toward the citizens who place their trust in them. As observers continue to sift through layers of conjecture and verified accounts, the picture that emerges is one of a leader who has managed to cultivate an image of both rugged individualism and shadowy opulence, a duality that defies simple categorization and challenges conventional expectations about the distribution of power and privilege. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on Putin's wealth and power? What do you expect to see? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.